faith. And time again, I have seen him responding so beautifully, so lovingly to everyone who calls to him in faith. My earliest memory of this response was when I was 8 years old. There was an old elderly aunt of mine who lived in Puttaparthi, and she had come to stay with us because she needed some eye surgery. And as Sriram was telling you all, and as my father was describing when he was speaking, it was very difficult in those days to make a trip to Puttaparthi. And she was elderly. Swami had asked her to go to Bangalore to get her eye operated, and she was staying with us. And the doctor had suggested that she go through the surgery as soon as possible. Now she had deep faith in Swami. She had seen Swami since Swami was a 5-year-old boy. She almost treated him like her own son. So she kept telling my father that she wanted to go back to Parthi to get his blessings before the surgery. And my father, being a busy doctor, and also thinking that it would be too much for the old lady to go back again and come back and go through the surgery, told her that it wasn't a practical idea. And one evening, my mother and my father had both gone out for some meeting, and we were sitting there, and this elderly lady was sitting and complaining to me about my father. And I was, of course, very happily listening, because which child doesn't like to listen about complaints about their parents? And I was sitting there and enjoying all of the things she was saying. You know, these youngsters these days won't take me to Swami, your father won't take me to Swami. I do not believe this doctor, he's going to ruin my eyesight. I need Swami's blessings. And as she was talking, the telephone rang, and I picked up the telephone, and on the other side of the telephone was the operator, and then suddenly Swami's voice came, and he said, "Hello, Gita? Is the old lady complaining?" Because I was smart enough to know even then, having been in Swami's presence for quite some time in my young 8 years, that I didn't say yes when he said, "Is she complaining?" Because I had been enjoying the complaints. So I kept quiet, and he said, "Well, put her on the phone." So she comes onto the phone, and of course I could hear one side of the conversation. And she kept on saying, "Swami, the doctor has asked me to go through surgery, but I want your blessings. I want to come to Puttaparthi. Padmanabh won't bring me," and so on and so forth. And I think Swami told her that it was all right. His blessings were there, and that she could go through the surgery. But as the days were, you would dream of those days now. She said, no, Swami, it's not enough if you bless me. I need some vibhuti from you. And believe me, not one of those packets either. So Swami, I think, told her to give me the telephone. She gave me the phone, and I said, "Hello" again. And Swami said, "Gita, can you find a piece of paper nearby?" And there was a day-old newspaper lying around. So I pulled the newspaper towards me, and Swami says, "Put the telephone receiver on the newspaper." And I did. And through the telephone issued a mound of vibhuti. Even I knew that this was one service that the telephone company didn't provide, especially in Bangalore. Because I know how many times I called my parents and the line was always dead or not working or something. And then there was this vibhuti on the newspaper. I pick up the telephone, completely awestruck at this experience, and I put the phone back to my ears, and Swami very sweetly saying, "Vachinda" in Telugu. Did you get it? The omnipresent Swami, who can produce vibhuti from 100 miles away, is asking me, "Did you get it?" I said, "Yes, Swami." He said, "You fold it up and give it to her. Tell her my blessings are there." I put the phone down, and of course there was plenty of excitement by the time my parents came home in the house. We chatted and we talked about the wonderful miracle that I had seen and that had happened. And once the excitement of it settled down, I started to think. Till that time, Swami to me was a wonderful, loving figure that came to our house, that I drove in the car with, that gave me Cadbury's chocolate because I told him I was bored with peppermint. This was the loving Swami that stayed with us for 3 days or 4 days and would come into the kitchen when my mother was cooking and said, "Hurry up and make the coffee for me." Now this Swami, I suddenly realized, was not just this little frame that came and played snakes and ladders with us, but there was something more. He was not here to give us the chocolates and the pendants and the rings, but he was a Swami that could respond to an old woman's prayer 100 miles away because she could not go to him. She prayed with sincerity and devotion, and he came across that telephone for her. This was the Swami I saw when I was 8 years old, and I realized and I started to think that there was more to all of this. When his teaching started to seep in, when I started to say that, is it enough to hear and see and read about miracles, or do we have to do something more? Swami has always said that it is wonderful that you hear me, it is wonderful that you see me, but unless you emulate me in your life, then all of that time that you spend with me and I with you will be a waste of time because you have not used it properly. In fact, when we were in Patti for my father's 80th birthday, and Swami was wonderfully, wonderfully loving to him and both of my parents, I told him that we were coming to London and there was a program and we were going to be speaking, and he said, very happy, very happy. And he gave us Vibhuti to bring to all of you. At that time, my father said, Swami, what message should I give them? You know that I'm not a speaker. What should I say when they ask me to speak? And Swami said a beautiful thing. He said, tell them that each of their lives have to become my message. Each of their lives have to become my message. How can we possibly do that? You know, just like any one of you, I have heard him and heard him and heard him. I try, and sometimes you feel that you've done something, sometimes you've failed him so terribly, but the loving Swami is always there, forgiving us, reminding us that he's there. In fact, I remember once when I first came to the US, I have twin sons, and they were just 5 years old when we came, and they would constantly want to sit in the front seat of the car. And I got tired of telling them that they had to sit in the back, they couldn't sit in the front. So one morning, I told them, no, you cannot sit in the front seat because that seat is for Swami. When I drive the car, he sits in the front seat with me, so you both have to sit in the back. Now they were 5 years old and they believed me, and after that the argument stopped. So I was very happy and went about my business. 2 years later, I came to Bangalore and I went to Puttaparthi, and sitting in the darshan line, and Swami walked by in the darshan line. Swami smiled and said, when did you come? Told him 2 days ago, Swami. He's very happy that the children come, that the husband come, his usual loving self. And then he walked away and suddenly stopped a few feet away, turned around and said, well, if I was supposed to be sitting in the front seat, how come you have so many audio tapes over there? I was completely taken aback. I knew he was omnipresent, but I had forgotten again. I had not spoken the truth really to my children. I had just said that sentence to stop an argument, because if I truly believed that Swami was there with me, I certainly wouldn't have put any audio tapes on the front seat. But just to close an argument, I had used Swami's name, and Swami very sweetly, compassionately reminded me that your thoughts and your words and your actions are not in harmony. And when they are not in harmony, you will not feel my presence, you will not see me, and you will not hear me. Unless our thoughts and words and actions are in harmony, unless our faith is deep and our devotion is deep, and we truly believe that he is there, the quality of our life will not change. I remember one beautiful thing that Dr. Hislop said at one of the retreats that he spoke. He said, take Swami's hand every morning and walk with him. Because when you are holding Swami's hand, you will not dare to think wrong thoughts. You will not dare to say the wrong words, and you will not dare do any wrong action. So take Swami's hand when you walk. So that is the reminder that Swami likes to give us by showing when he shows us these wonderful miracles, they are wonderful, we experience them, but he is also reminding us that I know every thought, every word, every action that you do, every single moment of the day.